as consultant. He has worked with various corporates for 9 years, including Tata Consultancy, ICICI Bank, Soma, Isolex, etc. He has authored 2 books, namely GST Practitioner Handbook with Ministry of MSME PPDC, and another book is ITC Draft Reply for GST Notices and Internal Control, which is published by Bharat Publication. He is a regular GST trainer with NACIN Faridabad, Madhya Pradesh, SGST officer, and Chhattisgarh SGST officer. He has imparted the training on GST at various government institutions, colleges, corporates, tax bar association, ICAI, ICSI branches. He is our group member as well as our mentor, and he is the one who is handling the query sessions of our group. Arun Tejal sir, we heartily welcome you to this platform, and the platform is yours. You can converse with the participants, whoever be. The language can be, the participants' language can be in any mode, that is multi-language. Arun Chatter sir is very well versed in English as well as in Hindi. Tamil language and Malayalam we can accommodate. We can translate it to you so that the session can be started. Okay. Now the platform is to you, Arun sir. Yes. Sir is muted. Arun sir is muted. Okay.
So thank you very much, sir. We are connected since long, and at every time, whenever we got an opportunity to interact with the member, group member, etc., it's a great pleasure for me to share my knowledge. And at the same point of time, I like to extend my very thanks to AICTP chamber, Sri Murli sir, for giving the opportunity to discuss on the live Q&A session. So we can request to the member, kindly raise the query either in the Q&A session, or you can unmute yourself, or you can raise your hand as instructed. We will unmute and you can speak to me. Is it right?
Yes. Yeah. Respected members, kindly participate.
So every participants are requested to ask the query. So while member are raising hand or member are raising queries, let me ask a couple of queries to all of you. So meanwhile, if you do not have some participant, if you do not have any query, kindly interact by giving the reply to my question. Listen my question carefully, and it is very important question. The question is, by which date, max to max, by which date I can issue the GST credit note? Let me repeat once again. What is the last date to issue the credit note in the GST? You can refer section 34 subsection 2 of the CGST Act, and I request every participant to give the reply, because it is very important to know. Sometime I have seen the very silly mistake by which unnecessary liability is being created. So we can save our tax liability, we can save our client, and we can educate also to our client. My question is very simple. What is the last date to issue the GST credit note? Let's say for the financial year 22-23. My question is, for the financial year 22-23, what could be the last date to issue the GST credit note? Over to you. So I request member that please give the answer. So my question is parallelly will goes on. Meanwhile, if any query comes, I will give the reply to the query. The question is, any solution for the ITC claim after the last date of availment of the ITC as per 16.4 GSTR 3B. Sir, if Jagdish Agrawal ji, if I like to say, the depend upon the circumstances, if you are in the position to litigate the matter in High Court, then only you can file the writ. Otherwise, there is no solution. because the time is being barred in the Act by 16.4. Earlier, it was due date for the month of the September or furnishing of annual return, whichever is earlier. Now it has been extended to 30th November or furnishing of annual return, whichever is earlier. If you are claiming after that, no possibility, frankly speaking, no possibility to claim the ITC after that. But still, if you like to take a chance, considering the amount, kindly file the writ with the High Court. To the extent of my knowledge, I am sharing my view. But yes, you may have the different view also. Jagdish Kumar ji ka question hai, in the case of contract for construction, at which point of time supply took place and bill is generated? Is it at the time of completion of the construction? So now we need to understand that whether it is a whether it is a continuous supply of the service or not. What is the continuous supply of the service? In the GST, the word continuous supply of the service has been defined, which talks about if the service has been rendered for more than 90 days. Assuming that this construction work is for more than 90 days, okay, then it is called as a continuous supply of the service. If it is a continuous supply of the service, the time limit is being controlled. The time limit to issue the invoice is being controlled by the Rule 47. What is the Rule 47 in case of the continuous supply of service? If there is an due date for payment. So suppose we have the contract of 90 days and our contract says that you will receive the payment after 30 days. So the day when I receive the payment, it will be the last day to issue the tax invoice. Situation number 2. If the contract is silent, if the contract is silent regarding the payment, then Rule 47 says the date on which payment is being received, actually received. So now if the contract is being silent, let's say you are making the payment after 50 days, then I will issue the tax invoice by 50 days by on receiving of the payment. Always remember, invoice can be issued on or before. It means you can issue the invoice at any point of time in advance. There is no problem. There is a cutoff date. You have to issue the tax invoice. The third situation, suppose if the contract is talking about the payment which is linked to the completion of an event, like let's say construction of contract. So you are saying that once I will complete the structure, you will have to make the payment of 30%. Let's say I will complete your floor, you have to make the payment of additional 20%. So if the continuous supply the service is there and the payment is linked to the completion of an event, then that date, completion date, would be the last date to issue the tax invoice. Completion date of what? Of that event. Correct. So there are three situations. This is my view regarding the time limit to issue the tax invoice. Now the second situation, suppose if it is not a continuous supply of the service, how? I am assuming that the service is being completed within less than period of 90 days. It means it is not a continuous supply of service. In that case, the normal section 31 talks about time limit to issue the tax invoice. Read with Rule 47 that 30 days would be the last date. So date of the completion, I have to issue the invoice within 30 days from the rendering of services. So this is my view, Mr. Jagdish Kumar. If you have any counter question, you are requested to raise your counter question. And still I am not receiving any more reply. My question, which is I have asked, what is the last date to issue the tax invoice? I have received only 2 answers. I request all 31 members, please respond, because you will enjoy the discussion on this question.
Kindly repeat the question also, sir, because there are so
Sure.
many people who have joined just now. Okay.
What is the last date to issue the credit note by charging GST? I'm talking about the GST credit note. What is the last date to issue the GST credit note for the financial year 22-23? So this is my question. Now over to all the participants and Mr. Jagdish Kumar. If it is clear, kindly confirm. If you have any counter question, kindly raise. Meanwhile, other members are also requested to raise any question.
can ask in Malayalam or in Tamil also, no problem. They can raise hand or in chat box also, I can translate, no problem. Thank you.
Great, great. So you have the facility to speak also. That's very nice.
Okay, one hand raised. Avijit sir had hand raised. Okay. Muli sir, Muli sir, can you unmute him?
Unmuted.
तो है ना, वो आता ऑटो फ्लो होके आ रहा है क्या? मतलब उसमें इनपुट सर्विस का जो
वापस
है,
स्टार्ट करना, क्वेश्चन वापस स्टार्ट करना.
अच्छा, वो एक्चुअली इंपोर्ट ऑफ सर्विस जो है टेबल 4 में जो जीएसटीआर 3 में आ रहा है, उसका जो फिगर है वो ऑटो पॉपुलेटेड होके होने आने का कोई चांस है क्या?
नहीं, कोई चांस नहीं है. सीधा सा बात है. नहीं, कोई चांस नहीं. सिंपल सी बात है. कोई ना कोई काउंटर पार्टी अगर कोई रिटर्न फाइल करेगा, जैसे नॉर्मली 3B का सोर्स क्या होता है, GSTR1 होता है. नॉर्मली इट इज अ सोर्स ऑफ द G. So the data, the question, let me convert the question into English so all the participant can able to understand. So question which is being raised by Avijit Bandopadhyay ji, whether import of the service transaction can be auto populated in the GSTR 3B, the my answer would be no. Why no? Because there are one source that someone has to file any return. So in case of the normal domestic transaction, we know that supplier will file the GSTR1, and based on that it will flow to GSTR2A, GSTR2B, and then to my 3B. So that is one way. Second way, if I'm importing the goods, the transaction would be like shipping company would file the shipping bill through AICTP, and then data from AICTP would be auto populated in the GSTR3B. Like all other return, ISD return, it will auto populated in the GSTR3B table 4A4. Okay. Domestic transaction which is covered under RCM, that will also come based on the supplied GSTR1. But as sir told that in case of the import of the services, there is no counterparty who will file any type of the statement or return. As a result, it will never come in the GSTR3B. Sir, I hope it is clear.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, sir. Requesting any other participant to ask the question to make the session very interactive. Or you can ask the question.
Chat box, sir. Yes, one question I raised in the chat box, sir.
Fine. Let me read. A registered individual engaged in the distribution business hired the goods vehicle from an unregistered individual. Does it attract RCM? The prima facie answer would be no. Why no? See, for any reverse charge, we all know that the transaction of supplier unregistered, recipient registered, it was covered in the 9th subsection 4 of the CGST Act, which has been suspended from 12th of October 2017. And it was multiple time suspended, postponed, and finally the 9th subsection 4 has been amended with effect from 1st Feb 2019. And what happened after that? They have given the fact that whatever the goods or services covered under 9.4, it will be notified. So in the 9.4, there is only one transaction which is notified. That is real estate sector. If I'm into the real estate sector, so first I'm giving the reply on the 9.4, then we'll come to the 9.3. Just allow me 2 minutes. So now the 9.4 is not open-ended. It means it is not applicable on all unregistered transaction for every category of the business. It is applicable only when I, being a recipient, is engaged into the real estate sector. I am a promoter developer. Okay. And I have purchased any goods or any taken services or capital goods or cement. So there are certain percentage for input and input service. For cement, it is 100. For capital goods, it is 100. So beyond that, if I have made the purchase from unregistered, I have to pay the tax under RCM. Now coming to your question once again, you are seeing the distribution business. So one answer is clear that it will not be attracted by 9.4. Now coming to the 9.3, if it is not being attracted by 9.4, then we have to see the 9.3. What you have did the hiring the goods vehicle. Now there is a notification number 13 by 2017. We are talking about 9 subsection 3 for reverse charge of services. 9 subsection 3 for services, the notification is 13 by 2017. In which if I go to the serial number 15, which talks about renting of motor vehicle designed to carry the passenger. It means if it is a passenger vehicle and recipient is a body corporate, then it attract the reverse charge. But your question is talking about the goods vehicle. So in my view, it is also not covered by serial number 15. As a result, it will not come in any provision 9.3 or 9.4, whether goods or services. So the answer would be no. I hope, Mr. Balaji, is it clear? Kindly confirm, and if you have the counter question, kindly raise. Meanwhile, requesting other participant to, is it okay? So I think this is another time. So I will give the answer to my earlier question. My question was that what is the last date to issue the credit note in the GST for the financial year 22-23? See, the important thing I have asked, issue the credit note. If you refer 34 subsection 2, then prima facie answer comes November, 30th November or annual return, whichever is earlier. But that is incorrect answer. That is wrong answer. Why? Because 34 subsection 2 is talking about declaration of the credit note. It is not talking about the date of the issue of the credit note. It is talking about the date of the last date to issue the credit note. No, it is talking about the last date to declare the credit note. Meaning thereby, if I have to declare something in the month of November return, the return max to max, it would be of October. Late to late, agar main baat karu, max to max, it would be of October GSTR1, wherein I will declare my credit note. It means I should have to issue the credit note max to max, late to late by 31st October. So I can report in the GSTR1 or in the GSTR3B, not or, and GSTR1 and 3B in the month of November. So this is my answer to the first question. So kindly do not do the mistake by issuing the credit note, putting the date 30th November, because you will receive the notice in the time to come automatically, system generated notice. So please take care. I hope, meanwhile, there is, let me ask one more question. Meanwhile, the member are asking another question. It is okay, Venu sir, right?
Yes, right, sir. Right, sir.
If
So,
there is no question,
members kindly correct it, and this is the last date to issue the credit note for the financial year 22-23. So the answer is what is stated by Arun sir. There are two answers in the chat box. The first is 31st October, and the second is 30th November. So 30th November is the due date, but we have to issue it on 31st October. That is what Arun sir is emphasizing. Am I right, sir?
absolutely.
Thank you.
My next question to all of you. Let's say I'm a distributor company. I'm taking the question of Mr. Balaji, and let's say I'm a distribution company of FMCG or any sector. My supplier has passed one accounting entry. Simple. He has reduced my amount. Let's say the total outstanding was 10 lakh rupees, and he has reduced rupees 1 lakh. As a discount, you can give any name. He has not given any document for that. So the 1 lakh rupees is being reduced. Fine. I have two questions. The supplier has not given any effect of the GST on this rupees 1 lakh. I, being a recipient of this 1 lakh rupees. Question number one, do I need to pay the GST? Assume that this particular transaction of discount has been recorded by me as an income. Let's say as a discount income, as an incentive income from the from my principal company. Or, so this is the first option, or do I need to reverse my input tax credit because I will not pay rupees 1 lakh to my supplier, or I am nothing to do. The third option, I'm nothing to do. Please note this rupees 1 lakh, I have not reduced my output selling price. I have not given anything to my selling price. I have not impacted my selling price. So let's say Venu sir is a supplier. I'm repeating the question once again. This is the question which is being asked by multiple person. It is not clear. It appeared to me. So I'm asking the question. Venu sir is my principal company and I am receiving the goods regularly. Year end, in my books of accounts, I have outstanding of rupees 10 lakh. Venu sir has given me rupees 1 lakh as an incentive or as a discount because I have done very good sale. Now I need to pay rupees 9 lakh. Now this receipt of discount I have recorded in my books of accounts as an income. Okay. So I have accounted for as an income. My question is that do I need to pay the GST on rupees 1 lakh, or do I need to reverse my ITC because I have not paid rupees 1 lakh within 180 days? I will never pay 180 days. So forgot about the 180 days. The third point, I am not required to do anything. In all the three permutation combination, please remember, I have not reduced my output selling price by this discount amount. Over to you. I request everyone, please participate so that you will enjoy the discussion, and might be some practical case study will help you. Some practical case study will definitely help you in your day-to-day client handling part.
Definitely, trial and error can happen, doesn't? Why only by error we can make it correct. Okay, so
Right.
don't be shy about it. Whatever you think, you can chat.
Meanwhile, there is a one question, one answer. Mr. Ravi, if a dealer issue the credit note on 30th November, is it invalid? 100% invalid if it's charging GST. If it's charging GST, then it is invalid because he cannot reduce the output tax liability by this credit note. He has issued the credit note after the time limit. There are some question. Let me take the question. I have asked the question. Let me give the reply to the question which is being asked by member. Donation received by the trust rupees 1 crore and selling fixed asset of rupees 1 lakh, where the trust has to take registration. See whether, so first you have to refer the exemption notification in detail. If any line item which talks about that this 1 lakh would be like exempted income, okay, and he is selling the fixed asset. So basically your question is regarding the registration. So if you're for taking the registration, we need to think that the definition of the aggregate turnover has been given in section 2 clause 6 of the CGST Act, which talks about exempt supply, which talks about taxable supplies, export, interstate, different GST number. So you have to add everything. Let's say I'm assuming, so I am not remember the all line item of the exemption notification, assuming that this particular transaction of 1 crore is given in the exemption. Okay. This 1 crore is given under the exemption, then this 5 lakh, which is taxable supplies, correct? Because selling of the fixed asset is nowhere exempted. It means your aggregate turnover is 1 crore 5 lakh, which is more than 20 lakhs if it is a service, or 40 lakhs if it is a only goods. So you are engaged in both. So I'm assuming it is 20 lakh, which is exceeding 20 lakh. You need to take registration, mandatory registration, because your turnover exceeds threshold limit. Now the important point, whether donation is an exempt supply or not, this is important question, because the only if I'm receiving the donation, for that I request please refer the notification 12/2017. You will have the ample clarity regarding the exemption. Mr. Girish, if it is clear, kindly confirm, or if you have counter question, kindly raise, no problem. For RCM purchases, what is the time limit for raising the self invoice? See, Mr. Narayan Swami, MK. See, first you determine the time of supply for reverse charge. If I talk about the goods, it is being given by section 12 subsection 3 of the CGST Act. If I talk about the services, then it is being governed by 13 subsection 3 of the CGST Act. So let's say we are talking about the goods. So in case of the goods, the time limit to, so what is the time of supply in case of the reverse charge for goods? It is earlier of below 3. The date on receipt of goods, invoice following 30 days, whatever the document is being issued by the supplier, and date of the payment, whichever is earlier. So out of these 3 dates, whichever is earlier, that date become the time of supply. So you have to issue the invoice by that day, and you have to make the payment by that date, and accordingly you can take the ITC. Normally one question comes, that why 1 crore 5 lakh? Why 1 crore 5 lakh? Why 1 crore 5 lakh? So what is the time of supply? So if you are for taking the registration, we need to think that the only if I'm receiving the donation, for that I request please refer the notification 12/2017. You will have the ample clarity regarding the exemption. Sir, if I forgot to issue the self invoice, can I take the ITC? So for that, I would suggest, if you talk about 16 subsection 2, which is primary condition for taking the input tax credit. Okay. In the 16 subsection 2, there is one condition that you should have the tax invoice or the debit note or any other tax paying document which is being prescribed. Which is being where it is being prescribed? It is being prescribed in the rule 36 sub rule 1, which talks about one of the line item is there, self invoicing. It means the self invoicing would be the document to take the ITC, meaning thereby, if I am taking the input tax credit right now, you must have the self invoice. You have paid the taxes. They are also talking subject to the payment of the taxes. It means when I am taking the ITC, prior to that, I should have the self invoice. At the same point of time, I should make the payment of tax also. I hope it is clear. Please clarify the GST rate for renting of GTA. If GTA gives the means the service of the GTA is covered by 5% or 12%. If he is only engaged into the renting of the motor vehicle, then normal rate would come into the picture. That is 5% without ITC or 12% with ITC. Okay. Also, when the GTA gives the hiring to the another GTA, then it will come under serial number 22B under exemption notification. But always I request to check the exemption or the rate from the notification. Your question is regarding the rate, so I would suggest please double check with the rate notification 11 by 2017. एक बार आप उसको जरूर चेक करना, but to the extent I remember, it is 5% without ITC or 12% with ITC, to the extent I remember. Sir, one of our client has not generated e-way bill in financial year 22-23. Sales are correctly recorded and declared in the R1. What is its implication? See, because we know we cannot do anything backdated. Suppose that today, if I like to generate the e-way bill for the last year, it is not possible. Okay. So what happened might be, so because you are the one who has not generated e-way bill, sales are, so for outward supply it is not being generated. In my view, the section 129 or 130 can be attracted only during the transit. So now this case would not be covered by 129, 130. So max to max, a general penalty can be levied on that. That would be the maximum side. But yes, again, at the same point of time, you can challenge because it is a normal mistake. And if it is not catched by the department in the transit, I'm saying. So this is my view. Again, I would request that please raise counter question if you have any. Sir, Mr. Jagdish.
Thank you, sir. 1 minute. One Mr. Naveen sir had raised the hand, so that sir will get a gap also. So what is the reason, sir? Naveen sir, you had raised the hand. Naveen sir. Okay, leave it. Continue, sir. No problem.
If a dealer, that is invalid. ITC, acha, okay. So ITC to be reversed, that is the answer. No action to be taken. Avijit Bandopadhyay ji. We have taken input in. So let me answer the question which is being asked. So my question, I will give the answer in some time. We have taken the input in our return and later on that part is suspended and now we want to reverse the input claim. What is the method of reversal of input in this case? We have taken the input in our return, later on that part is suspended and now we want to reverse the input claim. So the DRC03, if you have only suspended, you can log into your portal and pay the same through DRC03. The payment ka mechanism would be either through 3B or you can use the DRC03 to make the payment. If it is not any demand or DRC07, it is not being issued, then simple you can make the payment through DRC03. Okay. Discount received is offered as income and discount is not come under purview of the GST and debit note has to raise. Okay, I presume it's financial credit note. TDS should have paid as it is advised to reduce the ITC since it is income or the profit. Thank you so much to all the participants. You have given multiple participants and shared the view. That is very great. We'll give the answer in some time. Let me give the reply to the members for their queries. I have the transport vehicle, which is going to be given to a corporate at a fixed lease for the 1 year. They will pay the lease amount monthly to us. For this payment, do we need to raise a GST invoice? If so, what is the rate? See, again, the same. If you're given the transportation vehicle, so the rate would be either 5 or 12, but you are requested to double check. You have to raise the invoice 100%, because if you are a registered person in the GST and you are doing any taxable supplies which is not come under reverse charge, if you are registered, you have to raise the tax invoice. That is very correct. Okay. Whether it is forward charge or reverse charge, accordingly you can if it is covered under reverse charge, you can tick that option, that is the recipient has to pay the tax under reverse charge. But point to be noted, you have to raise the invoice if you are a registered person. The rate I have given my view, but still I request to double check with the rate notification 11/2017 CTR, central tax rate. Chopra ji, saving bank interest and fixed deposit interest, gift received included in the GST registration turnover limit or not? See, this problem would come only in case of the proprietor. Okay. Suppose I'm a proprietor, I'm doing my, let's say I'm doing teaching, practicing, but also I have my personal bank account in which I have deposited the money on which the interest is being received. Or let's say I have the made fixed deposit also. In my view, again, this view would be subject to the counter view also. Multiple, because this is very serious question. My view, first we have to decide whether transaction is a supply or not. Okay. As per section 7. Now for supply, it has two elements. One is consideration, second is business. So I can easily say that it is my personal fixed deposit and it is nothing to do with my business. Nothing to do with my business. In that case, in my view, neither you treat as in supply nor you require to treat as an exempt supply, not to add in the aggregate turnover. This problem is very serious, but make sure, is it your business fixed deposit? It is your business interest? Answer is no, then not required to deposit. See, if you compare the problem, I can give you one more incidence. So by which you can compare. Let's say I'm a proprietor. I have my GST number for my business. I have taken one property on rent for my family. Correct? It is a residential property. The question was, do I need to pay the tax under reverse charge? Earlier, there was a doubt. Finally, the CBIC has clarified by inserting the proviso in the RCM notification, which talks about if a proprietor or a partner have taken the residential premises in the personal capacity, then it will not come under reverse charge. Correct? In the same manner, I would suggest, or I would like to say share my view, that if this particular interest is in the personal capacity and it not in the business capacity, sir, how to differentiate? Suppose I have my current account. Okay, I have my current account in my bank for my business. So on that, if I am receiving the interest, I know that there is no interest on the current account. Let's say there is a fixed deposit out of that money. In that case, I can say it is a business fixed deposit. Interest would be exempted under serial number 27 and I have to add in the aggregate turnover. But if it is purely personal, interest, fixed deposit, gift, I'm least bothered to add these amount in the aggregate turnover. This is my view. GST registered transporter, GR bill is sufficient? Yeah, self invoice. No. GR bill is sufficient. So if you read the rule 54 and rule 56, so they are talking about the invoice in case of the special circumstances. So in which the transporter is allowed to issue the document, so giving the parameter. So the GR, LR or bill T, we are normally calling as consignment note. Sometimes we called as a bill T or sometimes we called as a GR. That is sufficient. There is no requirement to raise the self invoice if the supplier is registered. I have already taken, Mr. Girish, I have already taken this donation wala question. Some amount transfer to short and excess. क्या GST reverse? नहीं बिल्कुल. You are saying some amount transfer to short and excess. क्या GST? नहीं. See, the simply thing, do I need to pay the GST or I need to reverse my ITC? You have to check whether it is a supply. For first, I'm giving the reply for tax liability I'm talking about. If there is a tax liability, on every income, I'm not required to pay the GST. Suppose reverse, let's short and excess, it is in credit side. So is it a supply? Answer would be no, no requirement, no required to pay the GST. Same. If I have not made the payment to supply within 180 days, that in that case, you need to reverse the ITC. Otherwise, there is no problem. I can say there is no problem. You can continue to take the ITC even if there is a short or excess reversal. I'm assuming that this is not short and excess in any particular supplier ka ledger. So let me give the answer to my question which I have asked. Very important question. What is that? See, I ask you. 1 मिनट मैं कैमरा बंद कर रहा हूँ वेणु सर, ठीक है.
Please bear, he will come.
So
Yeah.
The point is, my question was very practical problem of that scenario. What was the question? We are receiving certain discount or incentive for which no document is being issued by the supplier. What to do? Do I need to pay the GST? Do I need to reverse my ITC? We have to evaluate. Point number 1. Do I need to reverse my ITC? This is very simple point. Let me answer. Whether I am failure to pay to the supplier within 180 days. If I refer the language of section 16, subsection 2 ka proviso, it simply talks about that whether I am failure to pay to the supplier within 180 days. No, I am not failure to pay. Why? Because if you check the supplier ledger, or if you check my ledger in the supplier books or supplier ledger in my books, it is settled. In my example, Venu sir was demanding 10 lakh and out of which he is given the incentive of 1 lakh. Now, according to the ledger in the books of account of the supplier, it is showing only 9 lakh. I have paid 9 lakh. So matter closed. I am not failure to pay. If it is not failure to pay, the reversal of input tax credit will never arise, because it is not that you have to, if you have made the less payment, you have to reverse always. No, the word failure to pay has to be satisfied. This is point number 1. Now, point number 2, which is, do I need to pay the GST? If I talk about the GST credit note and financial credit note, what is the GST credit note? Wherein the supplier has issued the credit note by charging the GST. What he will do for that document? He will reverse his tax. He will reduce his future tax liability. In other words, I can say he has taken back the amount from the government. As a result, the recipient has to reverse this ITC, so it will be balanced. Correct. Now, let me repeat once again. If the supplier has issued the GST credit note, he will reduce his output tax liability, future tax liability. So basically, he has taken the refund. In other words, I can say, and because I have taken the ITC, now I have to reverse my ITC. So both will be balanced. You can refer section 15, subsection 3 also, clause B, which talks about if the condition is being satisfied, that discount should be linked to the agreement, recipient has reversed the ITC, then he can exclude the discount amount from the value of the supply. In other words, I can say that he can issue the GST credit note. Now the second situation, which is my question. If supplier has not issued the GST credit note, it means he has issued the financial credit note, no document has been issued. It means he will not reduce his future tax liability by this document or by this accounting entry. No, he will not reduce. It means he has paid the actual tax to the government. He has not reduced his tax liability. Then I, being a recipient, will not require to reverse my ITC, or I am not required to pay GST on this discount amount. Only one possibility wherein this type of the discount, this type of the financial credit note may create the liability in the hand of recipient. What is the situation? Situation is, again talking about the example, Venu sir has given the discount to me rupees 1 lakh. Now this product I am selling, let's say rupees 15 lakh, normal in the normal market. Now, because supplier has issued the discount to me, I have also reduced my output sales price by rupees 1 lakh. What happened? The normal selling price is 15 lakh. Any amount you can. The discount amount which I have received, I have passed on this by way of the reduction in the value. By way of reduction in the value. Then it creates the problem. Why? Then it will be triggered by two provisions. The first, you can note down this provision, you can refer in detail, and after that, if you have the question, you can ask the question in the in our group AICTP, or whatever group you have, you can ask the question. So Venu sir will share the question with me. I will definitely give the reply. This reduction in the final sale price by the recipient because I have received the credit note or I have received some incentive or discount will create the liability in the hand of recipient because of two provisions. The first provision, the definition of consideration, which talks about the consideration can flow from the recipient or from any other person on behalf of the recipient. What does it mean? It means I have issued the tax invoice for 14 lakh, but actually I'm getting 15 lakh. How, sir? The 14 lakh is being given by the receipt by my customer to me and rupees 1 lakh by Venu sir to me. So this discount is create the liability because it is treated as a consideration. The alternate point by which the liability can be created by the GST officer because of section 15 subsection 2 clause E of the CGST Act, which talks about subsidy other than government has to be added in the value. Now, because Venu sir is giving the discount to me, which is linked to my price, ultimate selling price, then I can say it has to be added in the value. The value is not 14 lakh, 14 lakh plus 1 lakh because Venu sir is not the government. So I can say this subsidy, this incentive has to be added in the value and the GST to be paid by me on entire 15 lakh. So in other words, I can say this 14 lakh plus 1 lakh, the 1 lakh which I received the discount will create the liability in my hand. This is my answer to my question. Let me take the question further. Bank.
Okay, sir. Meanwhile, at 5:20 p.m., there is one chat which is missed. Sir, if a dealer issues credit note on November 30, is it invalid? That is the question. Because we had discussed about the credit note, what is the last date, what is the due date, and when to be issued. So in this question, what he is asking is, if a dealer issues credit note on November 30, is it invalid?
Answer is yes, it is invalid. Why? Because this November 30 ka credit note you will declare in the month of December, right? Because if I issued the credit note in the November 30th, so it will goes to the November GSTR1 or November GSTR3B, assuming you are monthly. Then November GSTR1 and the November GSTR3B has to be furnished in which month? December. December में fill करेंगे ना. So in that case, what happened? I have declared this credit note beyond the time limit given by 34 subsection 2. 34 subsection 2 says that you have to declare the credit note. Declare the credit note in the month of November by 30th November. So in the 30th November, which return will be furnished? Max to max of October. So I can say to your reply that this is correctly, this is invalid. This GST which is being charged, he is not allowed to reduce the GST liability. I am a dealer. I have issued the GST credit note to Venu sir, let's say on 30th November. What I have did for this GST credit note, I have reduced my output tax liability. Correct. So this reduction is not permitted because I have issued the credit note. I have declared the credit note beyond the time period. So therefore, I can say the department may raise the question and will take the liability which I have reduced along with interest.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much, and hope that the answer is well done. And if you have any other opinion, you may please put it in the chat also. Okay. Then we can take another question from the chat, sir. I think
Bank
that
charges deduct my bank check bounce rupees 118. I am charged party rupees 300. क्या मुझे GST देना होगा? हाँ. See, if I refer the section 15 subsection 2, which talks about if anything I have collected, so 15 subsection 2 clause C, if I have collected something from my customer, whether packing charges, loading, unloading, any name, by whatever name, if I am collecting rupees 300 from my customer, then I have to pay the GST, because you cannot say that you are working as a pure agent in this case. The charges was 100 plus 18% GST. And therefore, if you are charging same amount without having any profit margin, then might be you can say, according to the rule 33, I am working in the pure agent, I'm not required to reverse, or I am not required to pay the GST. That is one stand. But at the same time, it is difficult to prove. So rule 33 is not easy to prove. So in that case, if you are paying rupees 100 plus GST and you are collecting 300, you need to pay the GST. This is my view. Over to you for counter question or confirmation.
Sir, I agreed with you, but there is one circular. Okay, I wish to inform you, because one circular in between about 4 to 5 months back, the circular said that in order to mitigate a loss or something like that, the circular says like that. So what that may be his intention. Okay, that means bank had issued a bank, it is bounced, so it is a penalty on the part of the person who is handling it.
You are talking about circular 178. Circular 178, which is talks liquidated damage. This is a good circular.
Yeah. I think that he is pointing out such a thing in this question also, because it has a little linkage with that question. Because we can forget about 118, no problem. But what the person is doing is he is doing 300
he is
rupees.
earning the profit also. See, the problem is if he is collecting 118, then no issue at all. But if he's also adding the margin, then probably I would say it will not fit into the circular 178. But yes, as suggested by Venu sir, we will again read and then counter discuss. We will discuss once again. Sure, no problem, sir.
Definitely, because this type of questions is to be needed, because in order to dimag acha ho jayega, we have to think a lot. That is the thing.
Right,
okay.
Right.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for the discussion. Okay, then we can take another thing.
Setting fees received by the director who happened to be a GST registered person, does he need to report this is in GST? Very good question, sir. See, for example, I'm a director in your organization. Okay. I know that I'm receiving setting fees on which, because of the serial number 6 of that RCM notification 13/2017, company will pay the tax under reverse charge. So basically, I can say it is my outward supply on which you means company will pay the tax. And if I am registered person, then yes, it has to be reported in the GSTR1 under the table 4B. Under the table 4B of the GSTR1, and correspondingly 3B, only value will come, amount would be 0, tax liability would be 0. So my view, Mr. Jagannathan Sarmila ji, my view, yes, you have to raise the tax invoice by stating that it is covered under RCM. Second point, you have to report under table 4B of the GSTR1. This is my view. Whether ITC on the bank charges can be availed based on the bank statement or separate tax invoice need to be issued for banks. See, ideally, if you say that bank are raising the tax invoice, it is automatically come on your email ID. Not only based on the statement, yes, you should have the tax invoice. They are raising the tax invoice because I'm also receiving on my email ID. So I would suggest that check on your email ID. If not, then request the bank. And also at the same point of time, kindly check your GSTR2B. If it is coming, then you can definitely take the input tax credit. But you should have the tax invoice in your possession, because we know it is one of the condition of 16 subsection 2 clause A, read with rule 36 sub rule 1. क्या बैंक चार्जेस डिफरेंस ₹182 शॉर्ट एंड एक्सेस लेजर में ट्रांसफर कर दूं, क्या मुझे जीएसटी देना होगा? ये शॉर्ट एक्सेस नहीं है सर, ये इंटेंशनली मिस्टेक नहीं, इट कैन नॉट बी द शॉर्ट एक्सेस. यू आर डूइंग just because so that you can save the GST. In my view, it is not the correct practice, and we should not do also, because if it is being identified by the department, what they will do, they will raise the tax invoice, they will raise the demand with the tax, interest and penalty. So you should, my view that this practice should not be adopted by any registered person or any consultant. This is my view, because if it is only 182, you not mind to pay the taxes because the amount is sizable. In that case, this will be triggered by the officer definitely, because normally in the short and excess we are transferring ₹1, 2, something like that, or rounding of difference we are transferring. So this is my view. Yes, you can raise the counter question, no problem at all. What extent dealer can take if the supplier has not shown is the sale in GST? Now that is the problem. What is the problem, sir? After insertion of section 16 subsection 2 clause AA with effect from 1st January 2022. From 1st January 2022, in that case, what happens, sir? If the supplier will not report in R1, correspondingly, it will not come in my 2B, 3B. Sorry, not 3B, in 2B. Then in that case, I would not be in the position to take the ITC. That is crystal clear picture. Prior to 1/1/2022, I can definitely do the argument, because the rule 36(4) is ultra virus, I can say, because it is deriving the power from section 43 capital, which is not effective. And finally, from October 22, it is redundant. It is made redundant. So what happened, my friend? So prior to 1/1/22, I can support my ITC by all this discussion. But after this date, this is a problematic, that if the supplier not report in R1, one thing is clear, I should not take the input tax credit. You have to check with supplier. Either you should stop the payment, whatever you do, but please do not take the ITC. You should take the ITC only when it is appearing in GSTR2B. This is my view after this particular 1/1/2022. I hope it is clear. And any
Yes,
other?
most of the chat means all the chat had been replied. Okay, and we are left with only 5 minutes, out of which I request, because all are practitioners, consultants, and all are being in the field of taxation. And March ending has already been over, and June means this is the June we have certain amnesty schemes and everything is being opened. Okay, what are the thing in the amnesty scheme? I think that there are 2, 3, 4, 5 amnesty schemes had been already declared by the government in order to mitigate the loss. That means what are the loss? That means otherwise a huge amount. That means 990, one thing. Other thing is stoppage of business, form number 10, and so many things. Can you put it in a capsule? Means in a nutshell, that's all, so that the professional will be aware of, in order to have this month, because today is 1st, 30th is the last day, only 29 days left. So what is to be done? taken.
Okay. So you have asked certain things, sir.
Yeah, no. Certainly,
You are giving to all the
brief. Sir, you may please brief it. But advice to the professional. These are to be done. These cautions to be taken.
Very true, very true. Because amnesty scheme, bringing the amnesty scheme is really tough, frankly speaking. So multiple effort has been made by associations, by trade. Then only this being certain amnesty scheme is being launched. So please take the maximum advantage, because you may expect no amnesty scheme going forward for the previous financial years, because it has been multiple times we have get the advantage from the government, but it is really tough now that we may receive certain more advantage. So absolutely correctly advised by all the consultant, all the consultant by Venu sir.
Refer the notification circular on 31st of this 31st March 2023 and do accordingly. There are a lot of things to be done in June ending. Am I right, sir?
So let me answer 3 more questions which is being raised by the member. Shall I take, sir?
Why not? Why not?
A taxpayer exclusively exporting the goods with payment of IGST, can he claim both the output tax paid by him as well as the ITC availed in his electronic credit ledger? Answer is yes. I'm saying that ITC, see, for example, let's say situation. Let's say I have exported rupees 100 on which the tax liability is rupees 10. The 10 I have made the payment 9 rupees through input tax credit ledger, rupees 1 through cash. I can take the refund, or rather I should say it will automatically credited rupees 10. But let's say there is a credit balance of rupees 15 in that month, out of which 9 I have utilized. You cannot take the refund of rupees 6. Only point, whenever we are exporting, whatever the taxes paid, mode of the payment can be ITC or can be cash, doesn't matter. But whatever the tax you paid, that only you will get the refund. If there is unutilized balance, you cannot take the refund of ITC. But if he is not coordinating with what action? No action. If he is not cooperating, let's say if he is not cooperating or he is not, then you cannot do anything. The problem would be that if you take the ITC, then there will be the another replication like cancellation for registration, blockage of ITC in Rule 86A, or some other section will be attracted by the officer. I sold to a party, he returned the goods. I issued the credit note in my return, but the party same is written credit note, the same is not revised. But party is same. His return, I am sold to a party. He returned the goods. Okay. Like I have sold the goods to Venu sir has returned to me. Now, earlier when I'm selling, I've issued the tax invoice. Now he is returned, so I have issued the credit note in my return. But party is same. His return credit note, the same is not clear. Unable to understand what the party has taken the action.
Yes, I think that a similar party, head office and branch or something, doesn't matter. I think it's so, because head office and branch are two identical persons. So, but one debit note must be countered with the credit note. But in GST only credit note or debit note by the original seller only. So there is no any counter answer, or maybe his question may be, for a credit note, he might, the other counterparty had raised debit note also. Maybe it's so. Because there is no such a thing of counteracting, but for a credit note, he might have issued debit note also. I think that if he is in the chat, he can raise the question. Yeah, I sold, he had. Okay, so I asked the.
No problem, you can ask the question in the group, and or you can ask the question to Venu sir or AICTP chamber, and we'll definitely resolve the problem. Okay, sir. Now over to you. I think we can conclude our webinar.
Okay. I am sold the goods in my shop in Delhi, but the party is in Uttarakhand. He asked charge IGST. I asked CGST, GST charge. What is the correct issue between the conflict between IGST, SGST, CGST?
GST is correct. If you are saying that he is a registered person, let's say I'm saying that he is a registered person. So the problem is section 10 subsection 1 of IGST Act. 10 subsection 1. The problem is that over the counter sale, we are treating my counter is the end location. Answer is no. If the movement is being caused either by the recipient or by the supplier or by any party, the end location of the customer would be the place of supply. So I am very much clear in this case that it will be only IGST. It can never be C plus S. Otherwise, the entire GST structure would be the create the problem, because the recipient won't be able to take ITC. So that is the problem. Yes, for a better, you can take the GST number. Also, you can support with the e-way bill if the amount is more than the 50,000 or something. In a vertical GST registration, limitation of turnover for e-invoice. Vertical GST registration means aggregate turnover pan India. The limit is same. Currently it is 10 crore and now going forward it will be 5 crore from August 23.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Well done. Well done. So we had answered all the questions raised in the chat box, and it is very lively. So thank you, Arun sir, for being part. And we had arranged it within a short span of about 24 hours. So participant members are a few, but we can make it lively in the other session also, because you are also a member, and we can have another session. We can arrange for another session. To the participants, kindly note that in the next, because we are having webinar on every Friday. So tomorrow, Arun sir is a little busy, so that we had preponed to today. So kindly excuse that thing for the sake of, or for the cushion of the faculty, that we had done such a thing. For the next, because now income tax filing has been taken up by every faculties. So income tax ITR 1 to 7. That is the every ITR 1 in a week, ITR 2 in another week, and so on. We are arranging a faculties for that thing. So about 7 weeks, we have a series of income tax discussions, webinar, and everything else, with the lively participation of question answer session also. So this is the announcement that we have to give to you. And meanwhile, thank you, Arun sir, for sparing such a wonderful evening, and sparing a today also for a preparation and everything else. You had taken a much pain for it, and for and on behalf of myself as well as for the AICTP, I thank you, sir, for accepting our invitation and being part with us, and having lead such a wonderful and energetic participation from the participants. And to all the participants who are being here, I thank to you all from my heart for having given a chance to prove and to improve our knowledge in the sector of taxation. And to my humble submission, taxation is such a thing that it has its own wings also, it has its own interpretation also. If any interpretation or anything else being, to be frank, means, the escalate, you can contact to us also. We can have, because it is whatever be the questions we are doing it, we are not analyzing the real situations also. So the real situations may be different. So you can have the chat with the faculty also, or to me also. So thank you very much, and have a wonderful evening. Thank you, AICTP, for having it. And I think that Arun's Murli sir is there. Okay, can you unmute and speak, sir? Murli sir.
Sir, good evening to all. Actually, this is the first time I am attending your live Q&A session, which is a real time and new kind of experience for me, because on day-to-day practice, each and every one of us will come through many queries and doubts within us on day-to-day basis. If we are having a practice of utilizing this kind of Q&A session means, then undoubtedly our practicing skill will develop more. Because, for example, if I come across a doubt in my day of practice today, means if I take a note of it immediately in a piece of paper or make a note in my computer, I should have to wait for when this kind of Q&A session will happen, so that we can easily ask our queries and get our doubts cleared from the expert like you. So my first experience is an amazing one. Really, thank you so much for accepting our invitation, and we would like to have this kind of beautiful sessions in the near future. AICTP jointly with educating. So education is unstoppable and educating is also unstoppable. So we want to join hands with you. Really, honestly, thank you so much for your efforts and teaching knowledge for us. Thank you so much.
Sir. Thank you. Thank you, Venu sir. Okay, sir. Goodbye. And goodbye to all participants.
Right. Thank you.
Venuji, shall we close the session?
Yes, sir. Thank you.